Hello, Megan.
Hello, Michelle.
Welcome to the Spicy Brain podcast, where we are navigating neurodiversity with curiosity, joy, and
Radical acceptance. High kick.
ooh, I like that lower one this time. Hey, welcome to all those of you who are new to our podcast. We're so happy you've come. We have quite a few new people who've been coming
So
from
many new.
Yeah, all over the world.
Yeah.
You were telling me there's people who are in Singapore, people who are in Europe, different places. I mean,
I
all these
know.
places. Yeah, I can't remember all the countries you told me, but it's pretty great.
It's pretty amazing.
And then
So,
we've got our
hello.
hello, and we would say words in other languages, but we don't know them.
We don't know them. 'Cause, you know.
because unfortunately, no, that's not true. I could say buenos dias.
Yes.
Anyway,
Konnichiwa.
konnichiwa. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what it's
Like good morning, afternoon, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And for those of you who are returning, we're so happy to have you back. We know we've got our people that we've had for a very, very long time. One of them actually has agreed to come on the podcast, Meg.
Oh.
Yes. If I say it right now, then does that make it real?
I
I might wait and make sure that she actually is going to do it because I don't want everyone to get excited,
Yeah.
and she says no, but I think she might say yes. So if she's listening to this one, she knows who she is and she's probably getting nervous.
just listening right now.
Yeah. And wanting to like squish her neato.
Yes. Well, I'm squishing a spammy hammy right now.
hammy.
So I don't know. It's like a pig that
Yeah.
has wings and
Yes.
and glasses, and its name is Spammy.
Spammy
So-
is the best.
We can.
Did we get that for
we
you at
can-
the Spam Museum?
Yes,
I
you
think
did.
we might
Yes,
have.
You,
I think
you absolutely
Josh and I
did.
got. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So okay, so usually what we do is we pick a book, we sort of talk through a chapter. We try to get through a chapter each episode, but then some chapters, like this chapter, I feel like we're in this book, The Essential Guide to Raising Complex Kids, and really the whole idea is that you're raising kids, parenting that for kids who have both neurological or metabolic, issues that are going
Differences,
on,
yeah.
differences. And that can be really challenging, right? And so, but you've sort of taken the perspective of the inner child, like parenting your inner child in this. And I've sort of taken the perspective of parenting a 19-year-old Josh, who has given me permission, by the way, to talk about him. But this chapter has taken us many weeks. And this week will be no different because we're still not going to be done with this chapter at the end of it. But that's okay. Because she has really good, meaty stuff. She's another one who has so much information, and that's been wonderful. And I don't think I said the author's name, Meg.
Oh, Elaine
Let's
Taylor
see.
Klaus.
Yes, I'm sorry, Elaine Taylor Klaus. I should have remembered that. Anyhow, all right. So today we're going to talk a little bit about. She says saying no to shame and blame game, which I think is huge, and I can definitely relate to that at times when your kid is not doing the thing that you think that you want them to do. And we were asking one of the other times the difference between neurological and naughty. Is it neurological or is it naughty? And if you feel like you're a little bit unsure of whether it's because of their biology or it's because of their choice, because they're a teenager or something, or 2 years old and very upset about everything in the world, that can really kind of get muddled, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So one of the things she brings up, though, later in this chapter, and I mean, she talks through, like, basically trying to stop by the way that you're using your words and try to make sure you're not embarrassed. And that's why you're acting out with your kid or telling them something, because you're worried about what other people think of you. That trying to really work on what kind of triggers shame in your kids. Are there things that are happening all the time? And I looked at that part of the chapter, and at the end of it, she starts talking about this disability perspective, taking a disability perspective and keeping this in mind. So she keeps equating this idea of a neurological impairment or a neurological difference and thinking about it as though somebody who was in a wheelchair, right? And somebody who had a physical impairment or difference.
Yeah.
And I thought that was sort of interesting. So she starts with this example of kids in a wheelchair. You wouldn't put them at the bottom of a flight of stairs and tell them to run up to the top.
I think we've even talked about this before. Like,
Yeah.
we're talking about like our, Busha, like our grandmother, like you wouldn't ask her to climb a flight of stairs because she was in a wheelchair. Yeah.
Right. And so she's saying like the same concept for anxiety. Like you wouldn't tell a kid with severe anxiety that just go talk to your teacher, or spending the night's no big deal, or, you know, any of the things like having to go and ask for help for something, right? Like you wouldn't just say, oh, no big deal. Like you would think of it similarly to the person who's in the wheelchair. And there's like medical reasons that impair them from developing executive functioning skills in their brain, is like if we're looking at the neurological component of things. So I don't know. I just thought I'd bring this up and see what you thought about it, like this disability framework.
Well, I like the framework idea because you can't see what's happening in the brain. And this is the thing I've always said, is that it's been so frustrating, is that like if I had, a giant like cast on my head, then people will be like, oh, something's wrong. And because people can't see it, they don't assume it's there. Or if you have a cast on your arm, it's like, you're not going to, I'm not going to come to you and say, hey, could you grab that thing up there at the very top? Cause I know you have a broken arm.
Yeah.
And how as a society, we are so giving and loving to people who have casts, which I think is a great asset to have. Right. And so it's like, how do we then take that framework that we already know how to do and translate it to issues with the brain? That's the question, because there are just fundamental things that if you ask me to do, I either will never be able to do it, or I can't do it just yet until I figure out how to do it. And they're all valid, but we just don't know. Like, it's like, when your arm breaks, like you don't know actually how it's going to heal. Yeah. We don't until you take the cast off, you're not actually sure like how much mobility are they going to get back, like how, and until they do physical therapy, you don't know what's going to happen. So it's like this idea of like, there's a whole like can of worms that come with when you hurt yourself. And it's not that like we've hurt ourselves, but like we have a fundamental flaw, like, or not a flaw. I don't know. It's like, we have a difference. I think that's why I like the idea, like being differently abled as opposed to disabled. I like being differently abled because it's like, I do have abilities. They're just different abilities.
Yeah. She says, okay, I agree that different abilities. I want to go back to the concept though, of like the thing that is hard. You know what I mean? Like the part of the ability that might be limited, right? Like, so she's saying that, if a kid needs crutches, then they just need crutches. Right. And so if a kid needs support with for example, she gives an example of like cleaning the room. If you have executive functioning limitations, it doesn't mean you can't clean your room. It doesn't mean you can't do it on your own at some point, but right then developmentally, you might need to have somebody help you focus in on one shelf or one drawer.
Yeah.
Or help you to come up with an organizational system that then you can try to mimic or something, right? Like there's different things that she was saying. And I thought, okay, that's interesting. So I wonder, and this part I wasn't sure about, so I thought I'd bring this up. She said, we need this disability perspective, and maybe differently abled perspective might be a better way to say it. I kind of like that too. Acknowledges our kids can't do what is being asked of them yet, or maybe the way we're asking them to do it yet. And if we don't lighten the load while the kids are catching up, they may never acquire the skills they need to learn. And I wanted to kind of dig into that because I remember you as a kid, just getting your shoes, right? Like that was a big deal. But it wasn't just the shoes, right? Like we said, it was the shoes and the backpack and the lunch and the this and the that and the time. everything had to happen at once.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering, do you connect, like, does little Rosie connect with this idea that you might have needed your load lightened a bit? Meaning, if someone had taken aim, if any of us had understood exactly what you were going through and could have taken aim and said, okay, little Rosie, all you have to worry about for the next month and a half or 2 months is getting your shoes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. And then the next thing we'll do is, once you can do your shoes all the time, then we give you one more thing. Does that make sense to you?
That feels really good.
Does it? Tell me more.
Because it feels good because then it's the question of like, okay, we're just going to work on the shoes and figure out for you, like, how does your brain like the shoes? And honestly, had they like placed, like, if he had put me on the carpet and then taped my feet and then there was a whole thing of like where my feet had been taped and there's like an outline of my feet and it's like, okay, that's where your shoes go. And I'd be like, that is so fun, you know? And so I feel like,
are you totally going to do that later? I think you're going to do that.
Will.
You're probably going to do that. You're like, Brian, come here, give me your feet. This is where our shoes go.
Oh my God. I would do, like, we have it on our hallway, like where we're like thinking about putting shoes. I'm like, oh my gosh, I should totally do that. That'd be so fun.
You're going to get those little feet, like little feet stickers. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But like having it feel like a game or some kind of like a fun thing where it's like, okay, then, so like it's novel, but then the thing about the novelty, which is great, is that it helps you to work on a skill. Yeah. And so if we had started off with us taping it, cool, that's the first part. And then like when it kind of starts to like wane, okay, well, how, like, look, I got these, like, we're going to like we're going to color in the piece of paper and then we're going to put the paper there now, or we're going to change to those little stickers or whatever. So it's like, it's kind of making that dopamine hit. 'Cause I think that's the key is like, you do it once and that's not necessarily going to solve it for me. Like we have to keep kind of making it interesting until it becomes a habit. And you have to try a bunch of different things. I think that's the other thing is you have to try a bunch of different things. I'm getting super excited talking about this now. Can you tell that my voice is going so much faster?
Excited. Yes.
I'm trying to
because you were like not dopamine hit before and now you're like full on. Okay. I'm breathing.
Full on. Well, because it got me excited thinking about little Rosie and had like, we just said, hey, we're just going to work on your shoes. That would have been cool. Right.
Yeah.
Because like also maybe the issue was like, I didn't like my shoes. Or my socks feel weird in my shoes. I'm just realizing this, like, just recently, I have a pair of socks that I finally got, and I switched over to a different one because I didn't have the pair, so I had one sock on that I like, and I had another sock on that was just a fun sock, and I didn't like the way my feet felt in the other shoe. But because I had both of them on at the same time, I could tell like, oh, my right foot feels amazing. My left foot does not feel good. And then it started making me realize like, oh, I don't think I've liked socks for such a long time because they didn't feel good on my feet, you know? So I could see as little Rosie, if you have like a month or two to just focus on one aspect, it would give you time. It would have given me time to kind of think through like, for us to try things. Like, I don't think as a kid I would have known what the thing was.
Try.
But it's like, hey, let's just try different stuff. And then we're not going to get upset of ourselves if it doesn't work. We're just trying to find the tool that's correct for this specific task. Right. And like my physical therapist says, she's like, we're just learning a bunch of different tools because you're going to have, you know, you're not going to use a wrench to nail in a nail. Right? You're going to have different tools for different
things.
And so finding your toolbox is important.
That's interesting. Okay. I didn't understand it that way when I read it. So that's very, very helpful because she said we support them for a time, usually not for long enough. And I thought, what does that mean? Like not long enough? Like I'm not. And then now you're saying that it's like, oh, right. Like I would come up with a strategy for my shoes and I wouldn't think about it again. I would just do it. But for Josh or for you, it might take 2, 3, 4, 5 months to get it down and that should be fine. Like that's the part, meaning like, and she says it this way, which I thought was nice, which is that like whatever the challenge is, when you use this sort of differently abled perspective, you're shifting expectations on the emphasis of what they can do. So like, instead of saying like little Rosie can't get ready for school, we're saying little Rosie can get her shoes in the right place and little Rosie can get them on. And that's great. And that's like the best, right? That's so interesting.
Right.
I didn't quite, but then it's a layer, right? Like then once you did the shoes, then there could be something else after that you would layer on. But then that would be like for the rest of your life, you would have it potentially once you figure that thing out.
Cause like I was thinking about this the other day, like I don't struggle with brushing my teeth. Like that is something that is inherent in me.
Yeah.
Oh, because I know what it is. So I have this new medication. So I have like this, inhaler I have to take now. And I recently, when we moved, we got this we have this like little drawer that we put into the bathroom. And I thought, oh, okay, I'll put my medication in the drawer and it'll look nice and pretty when we're here, because I normally have it out. I had it out on like on a shelf. Right. And I realized I was like, oh, I haven't taken that inhaler in 3 or 4 days because I couldn't see it. And the weird thing is that like I don't see my toothbrush because my toothbrush is now in a medicine cabinet, which is all very new for me and very weird. But like I don't cabinets. But I don't seem to like I can remember that my toothbrush is in my medicine cabinet because I'm like, oh, that's a thing I've been doing for years and years and years. And so it's kind of ingrained and built into me. And so I'm like looking for the toothbrush. Whereas I am not used to this inhaler, so I can't have it sitting in a drawer because I will forget it. Now, maybe down the road, if it becomes like a part of me, like my thyroid medicine, right? Is now a part of me, so I can put it in my drawer and I know it's there and I can go grab it because I know I have to do it every day. But like when I'm learning to take a new set of medication, I can't have it in a drawer. It has to be out so I can see it and remember it.
That's interesting because, okay, I'm just going back to one of the previous podcasts because she says, first of all, step 1, take aim. And you did that, right? You're like looking, you're like, why did I forget this inhaler? Like this one thing, the inhaler is the thing you're taking aim on. And then you're using curiosity. You're like doing the we go, like, what is going on? Like, why is it I'm not remembering this? And you're like, well, it's not part of me yet. And I think that especially for I think attention issues, it has to become something so ingrained in you for you to do it on the regular, right?
Yeah. And that's why, they say it takes like 3 months to build a new skill. So that's why, like, if you're just doing the same thing over and over and over again, it's going to take time for the kid to like process it. And that like, it's why it's like when someone tells me something once, it's like, I'm not going to remember it. I'm not going to remember it even if you tell me twice. Like you're going to have to tell me multiple times over and over and over again. It's not that I don't love you and don't want to remember. It's that I won't. And even when we were talking about the shoes, like there was something that you had said about like, yeah, like if you can put your shoes in the right place or if you can put your shoes on. And I'm like, those are 2 different tasks.
2 different tasks.
And it's like, oh yeah, like just putting your shoes in the right place. Don't worry about getting your shoes on. Just can we put the shoes in the right place every day? And then gosh, like how monumental would little Rosie have felt if if it was like we were celebrating that big win. And this is something that it's tying back to like the podcast that I did I released last week where I was talking about it was like a little video essay and or audio essay, and it was like it's not these big things, right? It's these like very small steps. And I think that we spend too much time thinking like it has to be big. But like for me, putting my shoes in the right place is huge. And it feels huge. And the dopamine hit from that is gigantic. And I don't think we give that enough weight and importance in life.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I think especially when you struggle with doing especially kids who like constantly all day long, I think we were talking about this before of like getting told you did something not the right way or whatever. And I know Josh said that to me the other night. I feel like every time, Mom, you're telling me I did something wrong, or I needed to do something in a different way, or I forgot something, and it really is hard, I think, as a parent, from my perspective, sometimes when you're tired, or you've had, like we had talked about on the podcast, I've had a loss this last week that was quite profound. And so you're not at your best in terms of your energy and your thinking about things. And so you say things in a way that, are thoughtless oftentimes. And the same thing that, if somebody was in a wheelchair, would I be like, well, why can't you just walk and get that and do that, Josh? I would never do that, because I see it. And I think you're right. It's an invisible difference that causes limitations. But also, if we only focus on the fact that the person in the wheelchair can't get up, then we're not focusing on all the things a person who's wheelchair bound can do. And I think that's,
we never would have figured out that there's
right.
the Paralympics.
Right.
Like, if we had always said that people who are disabled can never do anything, then we never would have Paralympics. We wouldn't have, all of these really amazing adaptations that they can do where they can live their own lives. But I think too, like, just going back quickly to like what you were saying about Josh and you, I think the shame and the blame, it goes both ways for both parent and child, because you're going to have bad days. Like, everyone's going to mess up. And so that it is important for me as a neurodivergent person to be able to live and not have this, like, utopian, unrealistic bubble. Like the moments in time, like when you as a parent, mess up are like actually important, more so than even sometimes like the best thing. Cause like it gives me the opportunity to learn, okay, how do I deal with challenges and in a safe way? Cause like, you're a safe person. And so, if you're coming in repairing with me, then that's going to help me learn, how I'm going to deal with people like that as I get older. And cause it's never going to be ideal, once I get out into the real world. And so I think that that's the part, like, where as a person, as the kid, I'd be like, anybody who's a parent, it's like, this is where I hope that, like, the amount of blame that you put on yourselves or any shame that you might have for, like, having a bad day, it's, I want to just give you that, like, love and support and say, actually, you are teaching your kid a very vital lesson right now. Like, even though you don't feel like you're at your best, you are actually helping them. It's just a different type of help. And it's all information. It's all relevant. And it's all important.
And I think one of the things that she says in the shame and blame that I have found with EMDR and getting support for myself has been really impactful, is that when we get into these defensive, offensive moments, right, where there's something that's like we're coming at them, or they're feeling defensive about something, or they're coming at us, and so we're feeling defensive, and it kind of goes back and forth, right, is to put the stick down, she said. And I thought, I never thought of it like a stick, but your voice, right, can be such a powerful stick if you want it to be. And your body language and your everything can be that. And so, we had an interaction the other night, and you actually were on FaceTime with us. So it was like you saw it in real time. And it was just a moment of kind of like, I was annoyed, right? Because I was having a bad day, and the television wasn't working, and I didn't understand what was happening, and I just needed some help. And so we ended up calling you. And then he was doing the things all teenagers do, right? Which is like, Mom, whatever. And then I just immediately, that triggered me. And I was like, well, if you can't help me, blah, 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 whatever. I mean, just dumb. Right. And I don't even remember exactly what I said. You might remember exactly what I said, but it was just something sarcastic and meant to kind of be, I think probably guilt him a little bit. Right. Like, I mean, it was definitely that in that milieu of things to say. And then he left, and I was like, okay, listen, you go do your thing. That's fine. Whatever. I'm going to do this with Rosie separate. So I went and got my phone, did it. And then I went back in afterwards, and I was like, hey, bud, like, what's going on? And, he's about to graduate. So there's all the tension of, me being like, he doesn't need me anymore. And then being like way up in his business and back and forth, and him needing me like to, cuddle him, and then being like, Mom, you need, so it's all that push and pull that's happening. And, so we're sitting down, and I just said like, what, can we talk about this? Like, what's going on? And he was just, he was like really genuinely sad. And he was like, your words affect me, and what you say matters. And I do care about what you think, and I do love you, and I do want to help and know, but I don't like how you talk to me. And I'm like, yeah, like, absolutely. Like, just sitting with it and like listening to him. And I couldn't have done that like 2 years ago. I mean, if I hadn't gotten help for my own stuff, I would have just been like storming off and whatever. So I was able to sit down, and I feel like very proud of that, actually.
Yeah.
But it was letting the stick down, meaning like, I don't know if you even know if it's stick, but it's like the armor comes down, and the listening and curiosity comes in, and, all this work we've done on the podcast and talking to each other and trying to be more open, even though like it doesn't always just seem easy, right? There's moments where it's really hard, but I was sitting there listening to him and understanding that really that this idea of him having a behavior that may not be ideal isn't the same thing as him being bad, right? And like having to differentiate that, and also having to own that I haven't always known how to support him best, because these developmental stages, what we're talking about, are so nuanced, and what somebody's ready for and what they're not ready for, and taking aim at things and being conscious of that, of like, okay, now we're just going to do the shoes. Like, well, when we talk about what it is that someone has to learn that has different abilities neurologically, I mean, it's everything, right? Like when you talk about it, it's so vast. She has, these lists that we always laugh because we're like, oh my God, that list could be a whole podcast. But she's like, learning shows up in a lot
each item of the list could be the podcast.
She goes, learning shows up in a lot of ways. Managing emotions. Okay, so I'm going to take aim at managing emotions. Well, first of all, there's like what? 4,000 emotions. I mean, I don't know, right? Like managing them. Okay. Then the second thing is organization. That's another thing that shows up, right? And then you think procrastination, another thing that I could be taking aim at, following directions, going to a restaurant and knowing all the things you have to, I mean, it's sort of mind boggling when I think about how much there's so many things, right? When you're wheelchair bound that are very difficult to do. And we knew this from our grandmother, everything from, getting something off of a shelf to using the restroom to clothing yourself to all the things, right? And then you think that's the exact same thing for someone who has executive functioning differences, right? And needs more support with that. So this chapter just kind of gives me so much empathy for little Rosie, and so much empathy for little Joshy, and also for myself as a parent, to realize like just how complex this is.
Yeah.
And that it's almost overwhelming to try to keep it all in your mind. And so maybe that's why we don't sometimes. Right? Like, and you have to. You as little Rosie does. Yeah. And you as little Josh do. But like as a parent, it feels, I think that's where the disconnect sometimes comes in.
Yeah. And like, that's the thing, is that overwhelm is when you feel that overwhelm as the parent, like imagine that's how we feel every day.
All day long.
And that's all day long. I just feel overwhelmed most days. And I want to just, I've been keeping little notes for myself because it's interesting. I'm trying a new thing, you guys. Okay. I'm trying out a thing because like me, I tend to like blurt because if I don't say something at the moment, then
you forget.
So I forget. So I've been like leaving myself little notes as we've been talking so that I can remember like, what I want to say. I know, without actually interrupting you. So
wow,
we're trying something new, people.
All right.
But I want to go back real quickly to like this idea of shame and blame and parents. And I, because I know that your children cannot say this right now, but the reason, I'm going to say it hopefully for you. The reason I don't get mad at mom for not knowing or not being able to help me is actually something we recently learned. Is this idea of like, it was the best I could do with who I was at the time. I did like you guys, like mom did the best that she could do with who she was at the time and with the knowledge that she had at the time. So there's two different aspects to that, right? And we've been dealing with our own, people might know I have my own stepdaughter. The reason I don't talk a lot about it is because I don't have permission. And so there's a lot of, weird things. And so like we've just been, but what I can tell you is that, we've been kind of trying to figure out certain things about like owning, how we've handled certain situations as parents. And, both Brian and I were like listening to this gentleman yesterday. And that was one of the things that we came from it is that the guy says, look, all you can do is like, you could only do the best you could do with who you were at that time. Yeah. And you take ownership for like the things that you've done. And then that's the thing that you say is because like you can only do what you can do. Yeah. And that's the part like where I think if we're blaming ourselves, I know I've done this for myself. Like I blamed myself for how I treated little Rosie. So like as my inner self, like I was really angry with how I treated little Rosie. But then it's like, I didn't have that information or that knowledge of how to help little Rosie back then that I do now. And so I can't go back in time and like say, I can, but I choose not to because like I was doing the best I could with the information I had at the time. Yeah. And that seems to like really help free me from a lot of that blame and guilt that I have felt for so long about little Rosie and like how I treated her. And I don't know if that helps in any way for like those parents out there, but like I just wanted to put that out there because that's something that we just recently came across and it was really powerful for both me and Brian.
Yeah, I think that is because it acknowledges maybe the limitations, but also doesn't put judgment on it, just observes it, right? Yeah. Like there was something that maybe, knowing what you know now, you might do differently, right? But at the time you did what you did, your intention was still good, right? The intention of why you did something was still maybe you wouldn't change the intention, but you would might change the way you did it or the way it was said. Right. Yeah. And I think that's part of like what this idea of yet was so important to me. And I underlined it, with all my notes I take and then I send you and then you try to figure out my handwriting, which is so great. But
I love
it. This idea of, we had talked about, you would get kind of frustrated with me when I would say, well, Josh doesn't have that executive functioning. He's never going to be able to do something. And you would get frustrated with me. And I finally was like, oh, because it's yet, because that's like saying there's no chance for anybody who's got executive functioning issues to ever learn how to put their shoes in the same place, which isn't true. Yeah. Right. It's just actually not true. But it might take, they say 3 weeks to create a habit and you said 3 months. And I love that because everything does take like 10 times longer generally for, or certain times longer for people who have
really
executive
3 weeks?
function. Yeah. 3 weeks to create a habit is what they say.
That's right.
Yeah.
I was thinking that in my head. I'm like, no, I first thought 3 weeks, but like I have learned it takes 3 months
for you. And that's you knowing your brain. Me. But it's like, you can't do it yet, but give me 3 months. And I love that. But I love that, right? Like that idea of you are learning who you are and you are embracing who you are and you're advocating for yourself differently now than you used to. And it was interesting, like as a parent of somebody who's younger, the idea of that we're going to educate and advocate based on the kid's current capacity. And I liked the capacity part because I think the language I was using was so like looking only at, and I'm blanking on the word right now, which is funny,
limiting
but like
is the word I'm thinking of.
like the limits, like what you can't do, right? There's some way they say it in education
Mm-hmm.
speak. I'm trying to think of it and I can't. But anyway, but that it's
Oh, I see.
it's capacity oriented, is like, this is like what I have the capacity to do. And like capacity to me always meant what you were willing to do before.
Mm.
And now I understand capacity as what you are able to do. You know, see that slight difference? Like, it was interesting. I was like, they don't have the capacity for that right now, Michelle. And I'm like, well, that's just like, they chose not to. Like, I sort of had that, I think, kind of initial thought about that word for some reason. And now I'm understanding differently of like, no, just, that's not, it's something that not yet they have. But they can build that capacity. That capacity can also grow.
That's true.
And change, right?
Well, and that's, I mean, I do think that is just like a societally ingrained idea that like, that somehow that the idea of being naughty, right? Like that you are choosing to do this thing. And I'm going to assume that like a lot of the kids who were naughty throughout history probably were differently abled.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, she talks about this idea of disability perspective. So going with that concept, it made me think of occupational and physical therapy. So if you like, we see it in the movies or TV shows, like people who are having to relearn how to walk. And when you're teaching someone to learn how to walk, like it's going to be very slow and very deliberate. And you're like, you know, you're hoping that maybe they might just be able to stand up out of their chair. And then sometimes like it's like the little, what are those like little like the things they start to learn how to walk. And like, if you were to ask a person who had been paralyzed for a while and you're trying to reteach them to like go run a marathon, that's just not going to happen. And so if we kind of, if I think that's what she's trying to say is like, with this like perspective of like, okay, let's pretend like we're a occupational therapist or a physical therapist.
Yeah.
We're going to take this from a very small perspective and we're just going to build. And I see, actually, now that I'm saying this out loud, I see that's what my physical therapist is doing with me, because I've been in pain for so long that she's like, can we just get your brain calm? And so I go in there and I sometimes like, we don't do any kind of physical activity. It's just like literally, hey, how are we going to stretch to help your body relax, you know? And we started with just stretching for like a solid 3 or 4 months. And I'm having to like move on to a different body part now. And cause I'm like, I'm finally getting stronger with my legs. It's really exciting.
Nice.
I'm going to be an old lady who moves. Yay. But now we're moving on to my shoulders and it's like, oh, I got to do it all over again. Like I have to spend 3 months just like stretching, you know?
Stretching.
But that's a difference for me in saying, okay, I can do this. It's just going to take a long time and that's okay. And we're just going to take it one aspect at a time. So right now, all I'm doing is I'm just stretching and I'm like trying to like give myself like the, yay, I stretched. But that's such a huge shift for me to have in my life. And like, I'm saying like, you know, I'm a verbal thinker. I'm like, I haven't thought this through yet. And so I'm like kind of getting really emotional thinking about it. So it's exciting.
So exciting.
Take it from that perspective of like, we're just going to do one thing at a time. Yeah.
Yeah. And okay, I want to bring this up because this is the thing. When you were talking about emotional, navigating the emotions, managing emotions, right? And self-regulation. Because that's actually really,
which I'm
really
about
tough.
to have emotions. I'm sorry.
Right.
I'm just like,
no, you can. You can.
I think I just need to like, I'm in a process for a second because like, I'm realizing like, I'm just so proud of myself. Cause like I have been going through physical therapy for years and you guys, like I have tried so hard to like get my body to a place where I can move. I've always wanted that. And it's just been so hard. And like to have somebody who actually understands my brain and like can help me like do it. I'm realizing like, it just hit me. I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm actually
you're doing
a lot of this stuff on my own, but it took me a year to like get there.
Yeah.
And it is possible. I never thought it would be possible. I always thought like, okay, I'm going to leave physical therapy and I'm never going to like remember it when I get home. And like, I'm actually starting to remember it, which is
starting
a really
to become part of you.
thing.
That's part of you. Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Talk
Yeah,
about emotions.
yeah, no, I was thinking, I'm sorry, sort of tangential, but like similar thing, but I don't want to take the
No, it's
moment from
fine.
beautiful, your beautiful acceptance of where you're at, which is just so lovely. Um,
I
yeah,
just needed a
Josh,
second to process it because I was like, oh, I'm only thinking about this and I'm not going to hear anything Michelle says going forward if I don't just say this out loud.
oh, I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did. That was so
Yeah.
lovely. Yeah, I was thinking that there was this moment when Josh was little and he would have kind of rage when he had to quit on a video game. And he
Mm-hmm.
really wanted to get a Wii or whatever it was at the time. And I remember I told him, I'm like, you can get one as soon as you can leave your friend's game without, having
Mm.
a complete meltdown. And I'm sure I shouldn't have said complete meltdown or whatever. I don't know what I said, but like, if you can do this without screaming and I can give you your 10-minute warning so you know it's coming, because we always did
Yeah.
that. I always try to give him time warnings of when things were about to change, and that seemed to help him. But, when you can do that, then you can have a Wii. And I remember him, like, we would talk about it every time, because he would just cry and be so upset, And so, but
Yeah.
little by little, he finally started to like figure out how to self-soothe, and that meant he wasn't going to necessarily not be able to ever play it again, and that he was going to get a Wii if he could do this. And I remember this moment because I just didn't want it in my house if he was going to have that reaction every
Yeah.
time, because it was too much for me
Yeah.
to like not lose my mind with him. So I didn't want to put myself in a situation where it was going to be bad. So that's why I did it. But I was sort of wondering from your standpoint, does that map on at all to the physical therapy piece? Because the idea that you're having to like manage your emotions, you're having to self-regulate in this moment. I don't know. I was just curious if that connected to you in some way, it's helping you to know somehow how to do that as well.
Well, I think how it connects to me is that I actually tell people this now after seeing how Josh worked through it, because especially with technology, I think there was another one like where you had said like you can have more time as long as like when somebody walks in, you can put it down and say hello to them.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
like that was very important, was like being able to connect with people. Like when your grandma comes in to the
Mm-hmm.
room, like you need to be able to put your device down and say hello and connect with her. And I remember the first time he did that, and I was like, Michelle, it's so exciting,
He's doing
and
it.
he
Yeah.
is like he is like the most like generous person. Like when you walk in, like he puts down whatever he's doing and like just immediately comes to you and says hello and gives you a hug and then can go back and do his own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that process like really does map on to everything that I've done with PT. It's like part of it is just like having to, there's so many emotions and emotional management that has to be done first before you can move on to the actual project
Mm-hmm.
that's at hand.
Mm-hmm.
And it really, I'm seeing this now more. It's like I don't know if it's a chicken or the egg thing, right? If I'm having emotions and like limitations about who I am because of the ADHD or because I've been told about the ADHD. I don't know which one it is, because if you had a pure child who never had any,
Right.
would it be the same? But at least for me right now, like I always, these emotions are so much bigger, I think, than the majority of people, because I don't know how to compartmentalize them. I think that your executive function helps you to compartmentalize your emotions. And so there's a butler who's saying, hey, I've just received this emotion. I'm going to
Yeah.
put it up on this shelf for you because it's just like, and I don't have that person to like move it.
Yeah.
And so I'm so overwhelmed by it. And so I can see like whatever the emotion was for like Josh, let's say, and for me, if it's PT, it's like I just have to, can I figure out how to calm that down first? And then once I, like, what is it to self-soothe? How do we, how do we deal with the emotion? Because once I've dealt with the emotion, then it's like, okay, now I can start processing.
Yeah.
the actual task at hand.
Yes.
And then the other thing though is that it's not linear. And this is the other thing I've been wanting to say. Like, it's not linear. There's going to be times like where, just because we've made a breakthrough doesn't mean I'm not going to go back. Like, for instance, the shoes, right? We have found a great place. Like, I figured out how to we figured out where my shoes went at our last house. And Michelle, I tell you, the shoes are still, for the most part, in that place.
Wow, that's amazing.
Even in this new house. However, there are nights where, like, for whatever reason, I just, like, I can't even be bothered to put the shoes away. I can't.
Yep.
But what's strange is that when I wake up the next morning, I see the shoes there, and, like, I actually sometimes put them back. But in the moment, it's like it's too difficult for me to literally walk from, like, one side of the bed to the other to put the shoes where they need to go.
Right.
And it's just too much. But so I think that's the part, like, where it's not linear, and, like, being kind to the kiddo to, like, be like, that's where the curiosity comes in, or to, like, like the perfection. There's no such thing as perfection, right? It's just like, but I enjoy having my shoes put away now because it's, like, fun to, like, see, like, my room is, like, nice and tidy. So I will learn eventually, or I will do the thing eventually. It just might take a little bit longer. Like,
and also she said in this too, which I think I just wanted to bring up because she said perfectionism. And I was like, she said, like, shed the outdated, quote unquote, outdated notion of perfectionism that leaves us feeling broken or worthless, or leaves the kids feeling broken or worthless. And I think it's like you said so beautifully, it's like you are empowered by the fact that you figured out this place, right? And I mean, it's not really about the shoes, but it is about the shoes. It's about everything little in our lives that cause friction. And you have embraced and understood yourself enough to know that they're not always going to get back there, but they do go there. And when you do put them back there, you get a little dopamine hit the next morning, right? Like you do, and you, like, are happy. And it's like, I think we didn't do a podcast on it. It would have been fun actually if we do one of our 15 minutes, because we spend 15 minutes. I usually time us, and we tidy up something where we figure out how to take all the friction out of that particular task in life. And so, like, I think I found a place for my little slippers, which are still underneath my little nightstand, and they fit perfectly, and they're so cute. It makes me happy every time.
So cute.
And you have your place for your shoes. And so I think that idea, though, is that we get curious. We spend a lot of time thinking about things and, like, why it would work or why it won't work. And we leave it for a week. Sometimes we come back to another 15 minutes and see if it's still stuck for the whole week. So I like this idea of that, though, it went with you to your next house, because I think this idea that you're building skill upon skill, you're building task upon task, little by little, to make your life function the way you want it to, is really what it's about as a parent with a kid too, right? And so it's like, whether it's emotional tasks or emotional regulation, or it's the physical things in our life, or it's the way we want to treat other people, or, there's all these little bits, but you just can't do it all at once.
Yeah, it's reminding me of this conversation I had with my friend Lauren. She was, we were on our Discord. We have a Discord, you guys. I'll put it in the link in the description.
Okay.
But we have an entire thread that's just talking about neurodivergent stuff, And so one of the questions people said was, like, how do you, like, what are different tasks that you have, or different like ability, like, things that you do to, like, help yourself get tasks done. And she said, I have been, like, she's like, for some reason, I always put my clothes in the middle of my floor, dirty. They always go in the middle of the floor, and I never could put them in the hamper. And so recently what I've started doing was I start putting my hamper in the middle of the floor, like in the middle of the room.
I love it.
It's like wherever the stuff is, like, I put it there. And then she's like, you know what? And now it goes in the hamper every single time.
Wow.
And it's like, that's the idea of this outdated perfection, right?
Like, it's got to be in the corner. It's got to be
right. It's got to look it's got to look Martha Stewart beautiful. And it doesn't have to be that way, because whatever is functional for you, that's what matters the most. And I was just thinking about that. And I think too, it's also going to be different for each kid if you've got multiples. Because like I look at like Harold and Daisy, those are my pugs, and we know that Daisy is the personification of ADHD.
Yes,
and
she
Harold is not.
Crazy Daisy, we've always called her.
Crazy day. Oh my gosh, our vet, when I told them, they met her when she was like really not feeling well, and so then they met her yesterday and she's like totally crazy again, and so I was like telling them Crazy Daisy, and the lady just started laughing. She's like, oh, Crazy Daisy, that's the best. Oh my gosh, you're right, she is.
She's so funny.
I look at the two of them like when it comes to sitting, right? And so they both know, Harold and Daisy both know sit. So you say sit, and Harold's like, boom, right down. And then you say to Daisy, sit, and she has to twirl, 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 and then sit.
Yes, always 3 times.
And always 3 times. And it's funny because like I watch Brian tell her to sit, and he says sit multiple times, but like he really only needs to say it once because she is sitting. It just takes her 3 spins.
She's going to do it the
and
way
then
she's
she
going to
will
do
sit.
it.
Yes.
She can. She just does it her own way.
She can. She just said, this is how she likes to sit. And so it's interesting, like looking at the two of them, like I will say the word sit, and I know that they're not done until Daisy is finally sat, but like I only have to say it once and they both do it. So it's just, I don't know.
Okay. I have a little, well, I do. I have an idea. Okay. So maybe like with your shoes, what if it is that you like to get them into there, you had to twirl 3 times with them before you put them away each night? Like, I think it would work.
Actually, the reason I think that like you mentioned something about like a little dopamine hit. I wonder if I don't put them away some nights is because if I know if I get that dopamine hit, it's gonna lead me to not fall asleep.
Oh.
Now
that's interesting.
It's really interesting because Brian's like doing all this like social psychology stuff now, and he was saying that he was learning
he's an
that
undergrad. You're married to an undergrad. That's
I'm
cool.
a college boy in my dating a college boy. So he was saying that that brain wise, and I might butcher this. So guys, if you're you know we're not experts. We're just sisters.
Just sisters.
But he was saying that like that people like us, like we get like I guess serotonin at night or something, like where you know you hit that like that second wave idea, but like it's very common with people who are neurodivergent, like where your brain just literally turns on at 8 p.m. Like when most people they're winding down, our brains actually kick in at around 8 p.m.
Interesting.
And so I'm wondering if maybe part of it is that like there are some nights where it's like I know I have to go to bed, and if I get that dopamine hit, it's gonna feel too good, and I'm gonna not be able to fall asleep. So now I'm gonna start thinking about that on the days that I'm gonna start observing it because I'll let you know when I.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to hear. Yeah, because I think that idea too of having something be a game or having something be a little whimsical or fun could really help in terms of like building on these skills. So I'm curious also, you know, you have like hooks that you put things on, but they're like whale hooks, you know? I mean, so it's like you always have a little bit of whimsy or fun in your organization. I wonder if that might help some people who are trying to help their kiddos with certain things. Like it might, I know for Josh, he told me labeling actually helped him. And you know me with labelers, I love a good labeler.
You're like,
I'm obsessed
happiest
with
lady.
I will label people. Like I don't care, right? I mean, I shouldn't label them. I guess that's bad. Anyway, but point being, I will label as much as I can, and that's just my like difference, my neurodivergent self in a different way. But for him, he finally said he was really struggling, like keeping his room kind of together and putting things away in drawers and stuff. And he goes, Mom, but I used to have those labels. Remember, you and Rosie labeled at the other house. And so then I labeled, and he's been fine ever since because he doesn't remember what goes. Yeah, because he doesn't know. But if he looks, he reads it, and then he knows. Yeah, amazing.
And I think it's like as we're talking about like these, one thing at a time. I keep going back to this. Like maybe I didn't put my shoes away because it's like I'm trying to get to bed. So it's like I think looking at tasks as like. Yes, we need to look at them as like they're their own separate thing. But then when you're having to integrate it all into your life, it's not necessarily, they're not separate things for me once I finally integrated it. So there are certain moments in like, so like, I think the idea of like me not putting my shoes away that night is not me being naughty. It's totally me being neurological because I want to be able to do the next task, which is to get into bed. But instinctually, I know that like if I put my shoes away, it's not going to help me get to the next task. And so being able to help, I think your kid being curious and trying to understand, what's going on with them, is going to help them to not feel shame.
Yeah.
Because like I realized like I have felt shame when I wake up the next morning and I'm like, oh, I didn't put my shoes away.
Right.
But now I'm realizing like, wait a second. No, that was me being instinctual to like make sure I got to bed, which is an even more important task than putting my shoes away.
And also like now you get the dopamine hit in the morning.
That's true too.
If you put them away, you probably would feel good.
True.
So yeah, I mean, who knows? Right. But I like that idea of saying that you're asking yourself now, is this naughty or neurological? And I love that you're like, nope, that was neurological. I don't need to feel any shame around that. That's just my brain protecting me.
Exactly.
That's so cool.
It's pretty cool.
Right.
Pretty amazing.
Oh man. And you're getting really strong with Alcina, your awesome PT person who we love.
That's right.
Tell Alcina we love her. We're so happy that she's in your life. So good.
There's one last thing that I was thinking about, and then we can go. But Alcina is reminding me because you guys, I just found out that like with TRICARE and now being retired, you have to pay copays every time you go see a specialist. And so it's $39, which I don't have, that right now. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to figure out how to like go down on Alcina because like I just can't afford it. And so you and, mom had figured out that like she could help me with this. And you guys were talking about that. And she's offered to like help me with my physical therapy stuff. And why I say this is interesting is that like, as a parent, one of the other things that we learned about, like when we were talking about it was the best I could do with who I was at the time. The other thing that we learned this week was like, really as parents, our job is to hold our children's burden. And that like, there are certain things to allow them to like grow up and to allow them to be successful and to be children. Like you have to hold the burden of whatever hard thing it is for them. Like you're the one who's doing that. That's what parenting really is. And I was realizing like in a weird way, like mom, even like as a 45-year-old, mom is like still holding the financial burden for me so that I can grow up and like be a healthy older person.
Yeah.
And I just, I this is so hard. Parenting is the hardest freaking job. And I want to tell everyone out there who's doing it, like you guys are awesome. And you're doing the best you can with with the knowledge that you have, and to give yourself some love and find ways to self-care. And I appreciate the fact that if you're listening, that means that you're trying, and that says something. And I know your kid may not always be able to tell you, but like I'm going to tell you as a kid who was neurodivergent, like you're doing an awesome job, and thank you. Thank you.
And I think I would say for those of you who are parenting your inner child and trying to become the adult you can be, it really is impactful for the whole rest of the world when you do it, because you help everyone else in your life when you help yourself. And that is so important too. And I think that piece is hard, earned, as parenting is as well. But I think that is equally important. And I think for those of us who are parenting ourselves and parenting our kids at the same time, that you're doing this double duty, in addition, all of that is really important. So I just appreciate this time with you today, Miss Megan.
It's been fun.
Yeah.
And did I do better with my notes?
I didn't even know that's how good it was. I mean, I didn't even know you were taking notes. I didn't know you were, but it was beautiful.
Yes.
You did good.
Oh, gosh. We're figuring it out, you guys.
Love you.
I love you too.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to the Spicy Brain Podcast, brought to you by Spicy Brain Studios. We really appreciate you going on the journey today as we work through the shame and blame cycle and reminding ourselves that we're doing the best that we can with the knowledge that we have and the person that we are in this moment. So if you take anything from today, offer yourself just a little grace, maybe loosen the grips of shame, and remember that growth doesn't usually happen through beating yourself up. Next week, we'll talk about self-talk and how learning to respond instead of reacting can change the whole tone of a hard moment. Make sure to follow or subscribe on your favorite podcast app. And if you're enjoying the show, you guys, leaving us a review, it really does help other neurospicy folks find their way here too. But until then, you guys, here's to a great end of the week. And remember to stay curious
and joyful
with a whole lot of radical acceptance. High kick.